NBA trade season has officially gotten started, right? We talked about that a couple of days ago. We're getting to the point where from December to February, leading up to the trade deadline, there's going to be a ton of discussions. However, this year we have a unique situation. We have a role player, a non-star player that I think might be the most in-demand player in the entirety of the trade market, and that's Alex Caruso. Really quickly though, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Prize Picks. For me, as a huge basketball and football fan, this is the best time of the year for sports, which means it's also the best time of the year for Prize Picks as well. If you've never done Prize Picks before, let me explain it for you, but keep in mind, I'm gonna have an offer for you later on as well. So essentially, you go on a Prize Picks, you can do it on your phone, you can do it on your computer, and you look at the numbers that they have set, and you pick either more or less for a handful of different numbers. You can do between 2 and 6 selections, and if you get those selections correct, you can win up to 25 times your money. So all you have to do is go look at the NBA, go look at the NFL, go look at what these numbers are that are set on Prize Picks, pick a handful of them, go more or less on each of them, and it's just you against the numbers and you can win some money. It's such a fun way to add to your viewing experience as a sports fan. And like I said, I have an offer for you as well. Right now, first-time depositors can click the link in the description and use code SPORTING to get a 100% deposit match up to $100, in addition to some other promotions that Prize Picks will be doing here coming up as well. But right now, you can click that link, use code SPORTING, 100% deposit match up to $100. Go pick your numbers, more or less for each of them, and enjoy Prize Picks, with really, to me, is peak sports viewing time right now. Again, thank you again to Prize Picks for sponsoring this video. Now, there's a lot of factors in this, a lot of stuff to talk about that we're going to get into throughout the video, but it's important to understand why Caruso is so valuable and why there appear to be so many teams. Every day there's a new rumor about Chicago potentially trading Caruso to this team and that team. And every year we have teams that are trying to push for the playoffs that add, a wing defender, a guy that can shoot and a guy that can guard. But Caruso is not only someone that can guard and can shoot. Shooting has been a little bit iffy at times throughout his career, but he can do it as a backcourt player. Finding guards that can defend is really difficult, and finding elite guard defenders, especially guys that are cheap to get via trade, is almost impossible. And that's why you're seeing reports and rumors that like Alex Caruso might get a similar return that Drew Holiday did. Like, I don't know that that's going to be the case, but it's a good way to understand just how valuable his skill set is as a elite perimeter guard defender, and of course why he would fit into so many teams. And I can guarantee you that right now there are people watching this video that are fans of the Kings or the Bucks or the Lakers or a variety of other contenders or semi-contending teams, the Mavs, that are looking at Alex Caruso and saying like, that guy is a perfect fit. He solves the issues with our team right now, and that's why he's so incredibly valuable, because I honestly think that half the league, maybe 12 teams around the league right now, are probably actively exploring trading for Caruso because his skill set fits in super well with any contender. He's extremely cheap in terms of how much you're paying him. It makes like $9.5 a year this year and next year, and it's not going to require a ton, I wouldn't think, in order to bring him in a trade. But that to me gets to the most interesting part of this entire situation, because in a vacuum, if you're Dallas, right, let's say that you offer maybe one of the young guys, let's say Jaden Hardy, and like a protected first a couple of years from now, one of the first that they still have left, or a handful of seconds, something similar to that. That's fair value for Alex Caruso in a trade. It just is. In a vacuum, that's like, okay, good role player defender, elite defender, that's fair. The problem is when you introduce what could be 10 teams around the league that are all trying to trade for Caruso, that level of demand means that the price for him in a trade is going to go up, and it could go up to levels that, like I referenced earlier, rumors out there that it could be, a Drew Holiday level trade return in exchange for Caruso, just because so many teams want him because of the value that he can provide, especially defensively. And a lot of teams are going to view him as like the missing piece. And given the situation in Chicago, I would be shocked. I would be completely floored if they don't move him by the deadline. Things are going downhill there pretty quickly, and so he's pretty much guaranteed to be moved. He's incredibly valuable, and there's a lot of demand there, which means, this is the craziest statement of the whole video, it's extremely possible that on a team in Chicago that has Nikola Vucevic, former All-Star, DeMar DeRozan, former All-Star, Zach LaVine, All-Star caliber player, that Alex Caruso is not only the most valuable trade asset that they have on their team, but also they might get more for him than any of those other guys that I mentioned. For LaVine, it's because of the contract and some of the long-term knee injury issues. For DeRozan, it's because he's on an expiring and he's getting older, and his fit with any of these contending or semi-contending teams is not as clean as someone like Caruso. And Vucevic doesn't guard very well, and a lot of teams teams don't need bigs that play the way that Vucevic does. And of course, he also just signed a new contract as well. When you combine all those things, by some weird set of circumstances, Alex Caruso might be the most valuable trade asset on the Bulls right now. Now, to be clear, there's obviously a line here. Like, teams are not going to be offering, I don't think, multiple first-round picks in exchange for Alex Caruso, even though he's good and he's cheap and all these other things. There's obviously a line. But in whatever situation he would normally be available for trade, where maybe one or two teams were interested in him, he's going to be worth more as a trade asset now because so many teams have an interest. I mean, think about it. The Lakers have issues at times defending the ball. Alex Caruso can help them a ton. Obviously, they have familiarity with him when he was on the team a handful of years ago. Milwaukee has a terrible time defending the ball in the backcourt, especially against quicker guards. Alex Caruso, perfect fit. Dallas, Sacramento, a lot of these teams that either they view themselves as semi-contenders the way that, Sacramento and Dallas are, or they are actual contenders like potentially Milwaukee. All these teams could use someone like Alex Caruso, and it's going to be so unbelievably interesting to see what he ends up being worth because it's such a unique situation with so many teams being involved and seeing him potentially as the missing piece. Now, it is Chicago, so you never know. Maybe they won't move him, and maybe they won't capitalize on his value. That, to me, would be a terrible, terrible mistake, but it is certainly a possibility because sometimes there's just weird decisions being made in Chicago. But if you had told me last year, the beginning of this year, that Chicago was going to start trading pieces away, which, I mean, I still think that they will. I think of the four guys that I mentioned, Vucevic, DeRozan, LaVine, and Caruso, I think at least two of those guys are going to get moved by the deadline. And the only reason that wouldn't be the case, or the only reason it wouldn't be more, is just because they couldn't find a market for LaVine or Vucevic. I think DeRozan and Caruso are pretty easy to trade away and get some stuff for. And it's just crazy to think that Caruso might be the most valuable guy on the team. Now, it's also extremely possible that, a couple of teams kind of fall out of the running here because the price gets too expensive and it gets down to a couple of teams and you get, a first and some stuff for Alex Caruso, which probably is more than fair given his value that he can provide to a team. But it's just, honestly, I can't remember being this invested in like a role player trade market probably ever. It's such an interesting situation just because the demand for this guy is so unbelievably high. And honestly, the craziest part of all this, because I referenced the Lakers earlier, is the fact that he is such a valuable player and he has developed into that in Chicago and was that in LA. And the Lakers had a chance to just keep him. I don't mean to, throw salt in the wound here, Lakers fans, but they had him on the team and they wanted to make some choices in terms of future expenses and payroll. And they chose Taylor Horton-Tucker over Alex Caruso. And now, not only is he someone that's valuable potentially in a trade, but obviously for the Lakers, if they had him right now, they wouldn't be looking to trade him. They'd be playing him. And he would be such a good asset for them. Meanwhile, Taylor Horton-Tucker is not really doing anything. He's on other teams. He's already been involved in trades for them. And it's wild to think about. It really, really is. And it's a decision that I think a lot of people felt like was a mistake at the time, given the skill set. And also given the fact that THT gets paid more than Caruso does. Caruso gets paid $9.5 a year, and he's one of the best guard defenders in the entire league. Just a massive mistake there for the Lakers, but one that maybe they'll get to remedy by bringing him back in. I think he's definitely in play for them. I think he's in play for Milwaukee, Dallas, Sacramento, the Knicks, the Heat, literally any team that views themselves either as a team that needs help in the backcourt defensively or as a legit contender. They're going to be in on Alex Caruso, and I honestly can't wait to see where he goes.